Hello, welcome to the Honest Wargamer. It's the Age of Sigmar Stat Center. I'm your host with my co-host, Owen Jackson. Hello, Owen. How are you?
Hello, Rob. I'm very well. As you can see, I always talk about the blinding sunlight behind me. So it's a hot, hot day in London Village. The snow is melting on the mountain caps. And I'm in good form. I don't really know where I'm going. It's very British to talk about the weather, isn't it? So I can't help myself. But how is it there with you? It's good sign holding weather, I hear, Rob.
It's great sign holding weather. It's absolutely great sign holding weather. I'm about to start my shift after this, holding the sign for a little bit longer. But before we do that, we'll be talking about any events that have occurred over the weekend and some other little bits. Basically, reporting on community news of events and gaming around the world. I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Apparently, the dungarees going away is a good thing, but I don't agree with that at all. Greetings from the homeschooling world, Vengeance from Sylvania. I'm pretty sure my kid's reception teacher was sent by Sinesh to distract me from providing world-class homeschooling. Wow. Wow, loads to unpack there. But no, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm very much looking forward to having the conversations about the events and stuff that have gone on. What about you? How have you been? What have you been up to?
I'm good. Sorry, I just got distracted myself by Tomb King Tristan's comment of, I think it's making reference to me not knowing anything about Tomb Kings. It's a homeless man. Guys, look, it's a homeless man who doesn't know shit about Tomb Kings. Well, that doesn't really narrow it down. There's probably quite a lot of people that don't know anything about Tomb Kings. Anyway,
I prefer that everyone now thinks that this is the Owen with co-host Rob, which I prefer, to be honest. I think that's great. And it's also true, not only were we on the Party at the All Points last night podcast, is that correct?
That's correct.
You're also on another TV show this week.
Christ, is that this week? Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, it is, yeah. I'm going to do Warhammer Weekly this week. So I better come up with some smart and incisive things to say. Otherwise, I'll look like...
Be like me when I go on.
I want to be like you when you go on. I think, I think I need to bring some sort of like, toilet humor, some bad wordplay, some maybe like some sort of stories and interesting things that kind of fizzle out in the end. That's a lot of my stuff. My jokes tend to just sort of like, I back myself into a corner. But anyway, that'll be fun.
You Michael Scott here. I start a sentence and I don't know where it's going.
Yeah. Yeah, so look forward to that. So tune in, guys. Wednesday.
Tune in.
I don't know what the subject matter is. I'm hoping to, because you know me, Rob. I like my research. So it'll be. I need, as long as I can do a bit of research about what we're going to talk about, then I'll be grand. But no, other than that, I did the show with Dayton, which was fun. Everyone's going to be sick of me soon, Rob. Even you, even all the people.
Listen, if they're not sick of me, then fucking, it's fine. You're way better than me, and we're all good. Yeah, and you also, you also played a game yesterday. Is that right?
I did play a game yesterday. Yeah, it was quite a big challenge. It was one of these Butcher's Tribe games. So we've been talking about that. I think we're going to cover the next round of the Butcher's Tribe next week, perhaps, Rob. That'll be the 2-week cutoff. But yeah, I had my big match and against the star of Warhammer community, Mr. Luke Morton. So that was obviously a player of note. So it was a tough matchup. So he streamed it over on his channel, and we played. It was my Bone Reapers versus his Knights of the Empty Throne.
Okay.
I had lots of there's Laurie in the chat, my teammate. How is Owen feeling after his? Yeah, so it was a 6-hour game.
Wow.
It was pretty epic. I would probably like to watch it back. I reckon I had about an hour of that 6 hours myself. Me with my phone. Just saying.
Is there no time limit? Why can I ask why it was 6 hours? I always start the breakfast battles at 9, right? Aiming to finish them at 12. So I give myself 3 hours. And I feel anything after that, I'm probably boring the audience as much as myself. That's double. What's the situation?
I mean, it was pretty dramatic game. It was a lot of very fine, with his Knights of the Empty Throne Varangard, as you've played them. So 6-inch pile-in going twice and having to pile in towards the closest model. There was a lot of
Only going twice once.
Well, no, he then had Chaos Lord on foot, so he was spending the CP and going twice. So he went twice, like 3, perhaps even 4 times during the game. I lost count, but it was, Three, as Prop Joe says, 3 hours was the TO deliberating the command ability from Knights of the Empty Throne. Yeah, so that was a big point of contention about that, and the way that exactly that works. But yeah, anyway, long story short, I did win. I'm not going to be too triumphant about it, but it was a big win for the team, for Fiction.
Well,
yeah.
it's kind of like when you're at a tournament and then you go to the bar, or you finish your game, go to the loo, and you go to the bar, you get yourself a drink, and then you see everyone else at the tournament. This is that conversation. Like, how was your game? It's like, yeah, actually, turn 3, got the double. Yeah, you have that kind of like short chat. That's just what this is, right?
Yeah, I missed out on that. I've had a few WhatsApps, but yeah, you're right. It's exactly that, and that's really nice then as well, isn't it? Especially when you've got a cheeky win and you're holding it down a little bit, and you kind of go, yeah, actually, I took that out. But yeah, it was great. It was a really crazy technical game. I researched the shit out of his list, so I just didn't fight him. If you play in Nurgle Plague Touched and you have a big combat threat, just zone out the board and don't fight him, because you'll kill yourself. I did a test game with Benjamin, and I put my Mortek with swords into his block, and I did 20 mortal wounds to myself in one activation. So that was just like, don't.
So
bother.
just for anyone listening who's not 100% certain, because I did accidentally post in a Facebook thread yesterday, so we might have got a brand new bunch of new listeners who for some reason think clan rats are like the future. What happens is with the my god, it's like a hive of villainy, but not like good villains, like hilarious, the wet bandits. That's what Facebook threads full of fucking Warhammer people are, the wet bandits of Warhammer. Anyway, so yeah, the Plague Touch Warband, which is a Slaves to Darkness Nurgle battalion, allow any combat attacks, any 6s to hit. Is it 6s to hit? I think it is. Or is it
6s to wound. Yeah,
I always think it's to hit. It's to wound. 6s to wound in close combat are going to cause a mortal wound back to yourself. So like Owen was saying, with his Mortek guard, he's got a bunch of attacks. So is that when you stack an extra attack on the Mortek, so you took him up to 3?
Yeah, with the Liege Cavalos. Basically, I had to play the list exactly how it's designed not to be played. So I had to keep the Liege Cavalos away from the Mortek, so he wasn't buffing them, because he gives them +1 to hit as an aura, and then +1 attack as a relentless discipline point. So they normally just blend through stuff, but essentially here he would have perhaps even with Ren against Ren 2, he would have a 5-up rerollable or a 4-up rerollable save, and then a 6-up after save. So I'm just basically pumping loads of dice, and it's like I'm just killing myself, because say 120 attacks, 2s exploding on 5s. You're going to get. I'm not a Math Hammer player, but you're going to get a shitload of wound dice to roll. So you might be rolling 60 wound dice, and then you might do 10, 15 mortal wounds to yourself. So it's just it's a path. It's a road to ruin. So yeah, he took turn 1, which shocked me, because every other game I've played, I've had the turn given to me. He outdropped me, took turn 1, and then tried to teleport the 9 Varangard at me turn 1, failed the teleport, and then moved them into the middle. But yeah, I lost every priority and had crap dice. I double won the clutch charge with good old Mortek guard, which I couldn't re-roll.
Not allowed to re-roll that. And if you guys are wondering why, command ability, the core command ability that's obviously located inside the GHB, no, just inside the core rules, you can't use, because it's actually a command ability, and OCRs obviously don't use command points, they use relentless discipline points, so they don't have access to those as well, which is kind of interesting overall, like that that's one of the limitations we rarely talk about for the OCRs list, in that they've never got the option, right, for that reroll charge, which is a big one. Big love to Plymouth Troll Slayers for subscribing. Can I also thank Bobbin in the chat for becoming a new Patreon? Good opportunity for me to thank everyone who is a Patreon of this Wargamer. Literally couldn't do it without you, so you guys are absolutely brilliant. And big love to everyone who joined us in the chat as well. You're all great. So yeah, so you were playing Unites the Empty Throne list. I mean, we talked to Pask already on Wednesday. What a fucking charming fella. Like he's great. Big love to him. The joy he must have when I don't know this is true, but I imagine when he sat there painting his ogres, it's the most joyous experience to watch. He must just be like, "You're so fat and I fucking love you." Like...
Just going to put a little bit more drool right there, a little bit of art coat. Right. He's a lovely guy, and he was put in a tricky spot yesterday, having to live sort of TO on the unmatched Conqueror's command ability, which was quite a clutch one and quite a big conversation.
Yeah, so
but anyway,
do you want to talk to us about the command ability?
Yeah, effectively unmatched conquerors. What it does, this was a big play. What you can do with such a small, low model count army like the Knights of the Empty Throne, then they use this command ability to manipulate how you control objectives. So the exact wording is, you can use this command ability at the end of your charge phase. If you do so, pick one enemy unit that controls an objective, and I'll cut out the rest. Roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in that unit. If for each 3+ until the end of the battle round, the number of models in that unit that are counted when determining control of that objective is reduced by 1. So effectively,
so it's a singular objective, right?
Well, yeah, that's what my argument was. But then the counter argument was that you're picking a single unit. So effectively, that the argument was that I had a unit of 40 Mortex spread over 3 objectives. Luke targeted that unit, and his argument was that, and then he rolled 40 dice and rolled 25 3-ups, so he was reducing the number of models by 25. But my argument was he had to choose an objective because it says that objective rather than them not scoring any objectives or not counting towards any objectives.
Yeah.
So we're looking to get a proper ruling on that because as this list becomes more and more popular, it may come up more and more.
Well, I think I'd like if it come up at the Super Series, because I think we didn't. Did we have a Knights Empty Throne? We at least had. We didn't have. I don't think we had a Knights Empty Throne list. No, is that what? No, I don't think that's what Rick was playing. But I'd rule it the same way. Like, having looked at this yesterday, like, I don't think I'd make any different decision. I think the wording's fairly clear ultimately. So that's useful for people at home who are running tournaments or planning on running tournaments or even playing games with your friends. That does make sense. So that's fun. I mean, it's always interesting when these come up. That's why tournaments are so useful, because they at least allow you to have an interaction with two people and say, oh, well, I wonder what the actual decision is. And that's one of the other kind of complications and problems as well, right? When you have different TOs around the world, different TOs make different decisions. That's always one. So I quite like using this show as kind of like a, I'm not partisan in any way. I don't care if you. I mean, I love that command ability and that army, but I don't care either way. Like how you use it, apart from how I think it's read, which I think is pretty clear. So I think that's a good one. That's fun. So that's one of the matches that you guys have been listening to that we obviously covered at the Butchers Tribe event, which is the team event, which is super fun. That puts your team in a pretty solid position, right?
Yeah, I mean, effectively, you need to win each round. So when you've got a 3-player team, if you can, even if you like, we lost a game in our first round, but we still won the round overall because we won 2-1. So this puts us in a strong position. We're not getting ahead of ourselves, but effectively, with Laurie and Benjamin still to play, we need to pick up a win in one of those 2 games to win the round. And
we might be doing coverage of Benjamin's game against Simon Hall on Thursday, but more on that later. Because I think that's so. Like, just keep your ears peeled, or check Twitter or any of those things for when we might do some coverage. We're obviously going to be doing coverage in the future, but unless there's anything more to say about that, should we talk about the event from the weekend or the events from the weekend?
I don't like talking about myself, so let's crack on.
I do. Owen, you fucking smashed it. That's absolutely great.
It was a big win. I was proud of myself, but yeah. It's all. I think
you should be proud of yourself. Like, it is a big win. Like, it's a tough army to beat the Knights of the Empty Throne list. Luke's obviously a brilliant player and has won. I think he's won every event he's been at since he's come back to Age of Sigmar, and now he hasn't. And you beat him to the post. So there you go. Not many people actually can make that claim ultimately. So I think that's really good.
Yeah, that's fair. But there's a more exciting tournament at the weekend, right? The GoldCon event in Australia that we had a look at the lists. I don't know if you want to jump there. Where do you want to go first, Rob? Russia or Australia?
Oh, do you know what? Can we do Russia first?
Yeah, of course.
Because that's interesting. Because that's the one I know least about so far. So I'm very excited to hear about that. So please do inform me. I'm just going to while you bring that up. Eric's Sorbanen. Rob and Owen, you guys are also making my day every day, but mostly AMS Monday is really exciting. I'm super happy. Thank you. It's a pleasure to do it. I can't thank you enough for being here. And thanks to everyone for joining us live. Hope you're all well.
So, yes, we crossed to, even though London and the UK have got a bit of snow, I can't imagine it's going to really come up against the real Iceland, the snowy lands of Russia. So, obviously, turning into a real friend of the show, Philip Kartiev.
Yes, I think he's in the chat. Big shout, Phil. Philip, sorry.
Philip contacted me and gave me some information on an event that's coming up the 30th and the 31st of January. So this coming weekend,
Oh, nice.
there's a tournament called the Russian ETC Challenge, which I really like. I like it for a number of reasons. The information he's given me is that it's the main Russian team event, and it's called the ETC Challenge because its winner traditionally forms a team for the ETC. So it's almost like the team that wins then goes forward to represent their country. I'd imagine there's a bit of a tweak here and there, but I really like that as a format. So you win together, and it's like if we all win, we get to represent the country, which is
Perfect.
great, right?
That's exactly what I'd like the Super Series to eventually come. I'd like there to be like a national Super Series champion and different Super Series from around the world, and then to have all those Super Series champs meet up and play each other. I think that would be excellent, and I think that's absolutely the way that any national team should be picked. It should be via like merit, other than like I know the players are picked via merit, via council or whatever it is. I think in America it's whichever one's closest to an Arby's. I'm not sure. Like Australia, you have to go fight 8 kangaroos before you're allowed in. Like everyone's got their own tradition is the important point. But I do like the idea that it's based on everyone playing each other. I think that seems like the most sensible option. Maybe fighting kangaroos the second most sensible option.
Yeah, there's that fine line between sensible and fun, isn't there? And the kangaroo fighting sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. So unfortunately, as Philip said, the ETC is cancelled this year in its traditional form. So essentially, it's just a really strong Russian team tournament, and with the international team tournaments that obviously we've just talked about, the Butchers Tribe, with what you've been doing with the Super Series, and obviously the traditional sort of like Six Nations and stuff. There's team tournaments are on the rise, and they're a fantastic way to play Warhammer. So I think it's interesting to see what lists they've brought. So yeah, we've got that info. I think I sent that over to you, didn't I? Little bit of background on the teams, if you like, Rob. I realise I'm just monologuing as usual, and I don't like doing that.
No, I keep talking.
So yeah, there's 3 teams which Philip's picked out to look out for. So he's saying the Conquerors of Hish is one of the teams, and they are players from the Russian national team of 2019. So you've got the captain, who's Alex Bulavinov. He's the winner of the European Singles Championship in 2019. He was also one of the few heroes who managed to score a major victory against England in the 2019 ETC.
Congratulations.
He played against Slanesh. I think that was Russ Veal might have taken Slanesh to the ETC in 2019 So
a big win.
Yeah. Big win there for Alex. So and it's
that
very
was busted Slanesh, right? Like
yeah. That was pre nerf 2-up shit on your fun sort of Slanesh. He's saying it's a very experienced team with some interesting lists. Another team he's picked out are a team called the Province. We're going to have a look at all these teams very briefly. I've got a document. So the Province is a team made up of players from Yekaterinburg and Nizhny Novgorod. These 2 cities are the regions with the strongest competitive communities outside of Moscow, so they will definitely try to crush the capital. So it sounds like there's a nice regional sort of...
It reminds me, I don't know if you listened to the interview I had with the Texans and the organisers of because they have their inter-regional kind of like tournament, which is more important to them than anything else, where they have their different cities and then they go to each other's cities and for tournaments they try and capture the flag and take it back for bragging rights, and it sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, this sounds fun too.
Yeah, it sounds like they've got a similar rivalry, and obviously you get that in the UK between anyone north of the M25 and anyone south of the M25. We basically, it's like solid rivals there.
Interestingly,
and then,
just a quick note. No, don't worry about that. You carry on. Don't.
All I was going to say there, Philip, I'm glad that he's he's held his hand up and said finally his own team, the Angry Alpacas. Obviously, they smashed their round 1 in the Tribe tournament, so they're playing both an international TTS team tournament, and then in tandem they're playing a physical Russian team tournament. So those boys and girls are playing a lot of Warhammer. So basically, they're looking to defend the title they won last year. And they're simultaneously competing in the Butchers Tribe and also in real life in the Russian ETC Challenge. So you'd imagine that if there's some synergy between the lists that they're taking, then they're going to know exactly what they're doing. So like with anything, the more you play and the more you learn about your list, then the better you get when it comes to game time, isn't it?
I think also practice. I think practice in pairing. Like you could practice pairings. Like you could just practice that for days, really. But ultimately, like when you do practice the pairings, like you can do it for a bit at home. You can do it with your friends and whatnot. But actually, when you're against another team, like it's always like the best experience you can have. And I think more and more practice of that pairing system for players is going to lead so well into events in the future. I think it's really important, actually.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you've got the document there, Rob, with the list archetypes that we can just give a quick run over. It was something I looked at this morning, and I think it really does back up the idea.
I've only got the GoldCon stuff.
Okay.
If you send me it, I'll grab it. I'd love to. Love to.
I'll dig it out now. It's basically, I think I might have emailed it to you, which was the wrong thing to do. 1 second.
That's okay. You emailed it me. Oh, I can get that. No problem. Give me a sec. Sorry.
Cool. No, you're okay. I mean, what I would say whilst you're digging that out, Rob, is for the viewers, there's like, we play Warhammer all over the world, and you think, oh, maybe they do things completely differently in different countries. But, in this team tournament, what you'd expect to see or what you have been seeing as the strong lists, in singles and in teams are all showing up. There's a lot of the usual suspects, and the usual trends are there as well, just in terms of chaos and order are the prevalent factions. Different to Butcher's Tribe, and also the same as what you would find in a lot of team tournaments, is there's no limit on you having to take one army per every Grand Alliance. So, you are finding that there are teams which are taking 3 order armies. The only stipulation tends to be that you can't replicate war scrolls. So you've got no duplicate war scrolls. You have to share out the endless spells and that sort of thing. So, those Caradron Overlords players, they just like, I've got Vortex. Vortex is mine. Nothing else matters. I have Vortex.
I've got it up now, which is rare for me to say. So so the different teams are here on the screen here. So this is your little. So you got Basticaf Wargaming. I hope I said that right. And I'm so happy you pronounced all the names. They've got Osiarch's Khorne, Legion and Knight, and Sons of Behemoth. So no restriction in this team tournament about having to have one from each faction.
Nope, nothing like that. No, it's a free for all. So you could all take Deepkin if you wanted to really not make any friends, or yeah. So it's yeah. As I say, the only thing you can't do is replicate war scrolls between the armies. So that's it, really.
That's fascinating. Thanks to Colonel Cabbage, by the way, for donating £4.07p to the show. All that money is going towards printer material to produce terrain and miniatures, which, if you are a subscriber on the Twitch channel or on Patreon, you get you're automatically entered into a prize draw where I'm giving away some models at the end of the month every month. So thanks very much. Sorry about that, Owen. Just gotta do me job and say all the words,
mate. You go, man. This is all good. Yeah, so we won't go through every single one, but yeah, looking at it, you've got a decent amount of Deepkin. I think you have 1, 2, 3 Deepkin armies. All of them are essentially a king and some eels and sharks.
Well, can we talk about the composition at least? Because I think that would be fun. Angry Alpaca's rocking Tzeentch, which is Change Host, Fire Slaves, which is Hermdar, Lumineth, which is Sire, Seraphon, which is Dracotail, Croak, Queen's Gambit, Deepkin, Bone Reapers, Big War, Tzeentch. This is just, I mainly want to speak about them to really talk about who's not there. Province are taking Stormcast Eternals, which is obviously Shootcast, Fire Slayers are Hermdar, Idneth, and Tzeentch, which again is, there's an Archeon build, and Idneth have got loads of eels. Conquerors of Gur got Ironjaws, KO, Hammerhall, and Stormcast. Stormcast again is Shootcast. Hammerhall is all the Phoenix Guard for Frosty and 80 Phoenix. KO, Ziflin, and Vortex. Ironjaws is 12 Pigs, 10 Brutes. So that's kind of the one that stands out right now as being a little bit the most kind of out there. Conquerors of Heath, you've got Seraphon, which is Fangs with Skinks. Idneth, I've got Domhain, again 15 Eels. Skaven and Slaves of Darkness. Slaven Darkness is Ravagers, and Skaventide is mixed with 60 Clan Rats, 40 Monks. So team composition, this is almost the most unique one, really. The Conquerors of Hysh. Then you've got a Tempest Eye list with all the dwarves for Bastikaf Wargaming 2, Ocearch Bone Reapers in a cookie cutter kind of crawler list with Mortis Praetorians, KO with Ziflin and Vortex, Stormcast, which again is Shootcast, and then Bastikaf Wargaming. I've got Sons of Behemoth list, which is Brave, Legion of the Night list, which is Brave, Khorne, and Ocearch Bone Reapers. So, and the Khorne is Reapers and Core Pilgrims. So it's mainly just like, there is a Nighthaunt there. No, there's a Legion of the Night there. There's no Nighthaunt. There's no Beast of Chaos. There's no Ogre Moor tribes. There's some pretty significant missing. There's no Sinesh either. It's quite interesting to at least look at the general composition and just say, okay, what makes it into teams and why do they make it into team events? I think is kind of one of those big ones. Like Ocearchs in your team matchup, because yours is only teams of 3. Ocearchs obviously a strong faction. Is it the crawlers that really push them into making it into teams? Would you say, or is it just is it something else?
I think the crawlers are very obnoxious, depending on how you build it. I mean, in the Bastikaf Wargaming, they've gone all in. They've got 4 crawlers and Catacross, which is quite a feat to squeeze all that in. I just think they are still incredibly solid, and if you can match them into the correct things, where you can threaten their support heroes with the crawlers and push them back, which then gives you time for your Mortek to advance up the board. And I think that the Mortek are faster than people give them credit for. I
think one of the interesting bits is the multiple Shootcast lists, the multiple Hermdar Fireslayer lists as well, and obviously Deepkin with the Eels, again seen multiple times. I think, understanding that they are their problem armies. So what they do is they present a problem to the opponent. The opponent's there okay, these are a problem, and then that makes the matchup process very interesting, because obviously you want to get ultimately you'd like your team to win all 4 games that you're going to play against and get the matchup process that works for you. But sometimes that won't be the case. But having some real bully lists. So the Eels and the Shootcast are very bully lists that they create games that could be over turn 1, sometimes. And I think that's quite interesting. I don't know if there's any of those that the Archeon list as well also, and the Tzeentch Chainshows list make me feel that that's a very similar sort of list. And then the Fireslayers are more of a problem that, can your list even deal with the Fireslayers, yes or no? There's also no Nurgle armies, which is
I was really surprised by that, especially as they've got really good anti-shooting tech, because of the amount of wounds. I mean, when we have a look at the Australian tournament, those Black Kings lists tended to do quite well. The inherent minuses that you can get out of your big blobs. I've got a note for Grinaldi. I swear Grinaldi just watches the show to dig me out on things.
It's okay, he does it to me too. That's all he's here for, and I love him.
Keep being you, man.
Keep going, fucking gorgeous fella.
Yes, so I slipped up there. You can't have 4 Deepkin players all playing. Perhaps you could if you take different counts as battle line.
Oh, maybe hero slots. You could potentially. Battle line would be your issue, maybe.
Yeah. But I think you could see Deepkin in there quite a bit because they are a great anti-shooting pick. There is one army with one team composition which is a bit odd because effectively all of them shoot. Mortis Praetorians with 2 crawlers is a bit more mixed, but fundamentally the Bastikaf Wargaming crew, they've got a dwarf heavy, bridge teleport Hurricanum shoot build. They've got a Barak Zilfin, Vortex ironclad shoot build. They've got a single drop shootcast, and then they've got double crawlers. So I think that's you. They're a bit all in there because if they go up against an army that outdrops them, or they've got lots of anti-shooting tech, then they haven't really got anything that can, survive against that. So it is. Well, the thing is interesting to see is that there are very much the sorts of lists that you see popping up in singles events are also popping up here. I think with a team of 4, there's not so much room for that true skew list. Stormcast is a skew list. The Anvil's 1 drop, but it still does really well in singles as well, right? So
Yeah.
it's not that much of a. Whereas in a team of 6, you've got room to squeeze in like a real left field pick, and if need be, you just bust that one to win the round, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. I always like looking at these compositions as well, especially when you look at it on Grand Alliance, which are a great color coding there. Owen, absolutely brilliant. Like significant leaning in all the teams pretty much towards order, apart from Bastikaf Wargaming. And I think that's an interesting kind of conversation about team events in the future. If you do make it so that, like, if you're running teams of 4, teams of 3, you can only choose one army from one Grand Alliance. I think that really kind of like I don't have a preference either way. I really don't. But maybe that does create kind of a more varied environment, at least, in some ways. And I know, yes, obviously you're cutting out both Chaos and Order, who've got so many options, really. Poor old Destruction. But like, we got new armies on the way, and I think maybe an interesting conversation in the future about that breaking up. So yeah, looks great, and that's going to be this weekend, right?
That's going to be this weekend. They're playing, I believe it's 4 games over 2 days. So they've got 2 games on the first day, two games on the Sunday. So I'm sure that we'll get a load of results in from that, and we could talk about them next week.
I'm gonna ask you to ask Philip, but also I think Philip might be listening. One of the things I'd be most interested about hearing about, if he's okay, and I'd like to report on next week with you if we get the opportunity, is I'd love to know the pairing process. I would love to know each team, as they play each team, what goes in as defenders, what goes in as attackers, and then what goes, like, I would love to see that process in action. I think that would be fun, maybe even as a whole other show, a deep dive into that, have conversations about it. I think that's something I'd like to look at a lot over the next year or so. And so I would like great opportunity for that. So I'll reach out to him through you or something. But because for me that's fascinating, right? What goes in first? How's it going to go? Is it always the same? Super interesting stuff, I think. So yeah, like, I would you be interested in that? I think that was interesting.
Definitely. Oh yeah. That's a game within a game. I mean, when we brought Simon Weekly, who was on the Welsh ETC 40k team, when he came in and started playing AOS and joined the team, like the transformation in the no disrespect to anyone who did it previously, but the transformation in the pairing process that he brought from that 40k background was insane. And the level of analysis, like the pre-matchup analysis and all the spreadsheets and knowing what goes where, it's it is a real huge part, because again, good matchups can all the way through can win you the tournament. A lot of stories out of teams like team tournaments like Brotherhood, you'd hear like, oh shit, I fucked up the pairings, and we should have won that round, sort of thing. So there's a lot of pressure on the coach to get it right. And you basically fail to prepare to fail. That's what I would say on the pairings. If you've got all the information there, then you've got a plan to enact. So it's super important. And yeah, I would be interested to hear as well about how they go about that in this Russian tournament.
Sweet. Philip says that he's super keen to do that, so that's lovely of him. Amazing. So that's this weekend. So we'll be talking about that next weekend, and let us know. And what I'll try and do, this lovely image that Owen's put up, I'll try and get this hosted so we can include it in the show notes as well for you guys. So you guys listening at home on the podcast or watching somewhere else, you can go and have a little look at this yourself, which would be good. All right, sweet. So that's in real life. That's not a TTS event. That's in real life. Talking about real life, yeah, Australia should have been CanCon this weekend, and it wasn't. But instead we had GoldCon. Right, so we had GoldCon, which is very exciting. Which was held. We talked about the list last week. We even did a list review show, which was super fun. Didn't quite call it. I got 3rd place on my call. How did you do?
I don't know, man. I'm not great, I don't think. I think the little left field pick. Yeah, there wasn't a single Seraphon in the top 10. Basically, I bombed. I'd like to think that my energy was mainly going into thinking about my match rather than, so I was a little bit distracted, Rob.
Super fair.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
But no, basically, I didn't. I backed the wrong horse. I think that
maybe we all did, though. Like, I've told you this before. Like having done this for a few years now, this is going to be one of those fun journeys for us all. If you guys are only just tuning in recently to doing this, as soon as you go to Australia, everything gets real fucky. Like, that's the only word I can use to describe it. Everything gets twisted, gets upside down. Like, who knows? Although I don't think it necessarily is showcasing this. I just think Corey's like pulled out a smasher ultimately when we go look at the lists. But it's just yeah. Normally they mess about, but yeah. So I've got the top 10 here. So this was organised by Simon Hall. And this is the top 10, 52 players. And we ended up with Corey Papinemi. I hope I said that right. I'm sorry. A little interesting point before I talk any more about this. If you'd like to look at all the coverage, because coverage was done by the Failed Charge this weekend, you can go and watch that. So Gemma, Mick, and all those guys did all the coverage this weekend. It was a great time, good laugh. Chris Wolfer did some coverage as commentary as well, which I really enjoyed. Gemma's fantastic. So the Failed Charge Twitch channel, you can go watch all those back. Wonderful people, really good time. I was just I got home. It was like 11, 12. That's pretty much when I finished work at the minute, kind of midnight. I got home the other day, Owen, and I sat down with a bowl of food, and I was just watching Warhammer, and it was the best. It was just the best. I was just like, this is great. It got to like 1:30. I was like, go to bed, you idiot. And I was like, this is so much fun. I was like, this is great. It was great. So thank you to the Failed Charge for entertaining me over the weekend. So big love. Anyway, sorry. First place, Corey, the only player to go 6-0 with his Daughters of Cain list, which we'll talk about more in a bit. Patrick Carter came in second with his KO Ziflin escort wing. He went 5-1. And Dave Kerr, which was my pick, so not bad. Yep. I got a third place.
I would like to say, Rob, that we didn't big up Corey's list because we gave it the big up for Simon's Southern Scrap, which was the previous tournament to this one where he went 4-1. So I didn't want to sound like a stuck record, and we want to talk about different stuff sometimes. But yeah, I think Corey's list was one of the favourites. I think based on how it's previously performed. But after that, Rob, we go into the fatties. A couple, not the players, obviously. They're the lists they brought. So just to clarify. Tristan Smith with Nurgle, 45 Blight Kings in Blessed Suns. And then following up is Matt Kent with Nurgle list, which is 45 Blight Kings and a Great Unclean one in Blessed Suns. So, I think they actually drew each other in the last round and battled it through to a draw. There was a Nurgle off. And then sixth is one of two Deepkin players. So Luke McFadden with a Deepkin list. Some things never change. Volturnus and 21 MSU Eels. And then Josh Mayer then in seventh with a Deepkin list, which was Fwathan. A bit different this one. Volturnus, an Eidolon of the Storm, Aspect of the Storm, and another MSU mix of Ishleyan, Morsar, Alapex, and then rounding out the top 10, who have we got in eighth there, Rob?
Sean Muller with his this is fucking blowing my mind. Stormcast, Classic Australia. Everyone in the chat right now is like, why have we not seen Seraphon in the top 10? And I did put Australia doesn't count. That's not what I mean specifically, but they mess about. And this one, Sean Muller, making me look like a mug. 15 Evocators, 4 Ballista. This isn't the Cleansing Phalanx, which is the one that I wanted to do well. This is the other, I've got a collection of Warhammer models list. Which is brilliant. Sean, you're an absolute legend. You've smashed it. That's a great win for the Stormcast, I think. Foot slogging away with 15 Evos. And I mean, the 4 Ballistas, at the end of the day, what are they now? 110 points? Still not bad. Like, I was bitching at 100 points. I think 110's fine. Like, so there's a lot of shooting in there if they really if it rolls well, it rolls really well. It's scary.
He's got a Lord Ordinator in there to make him hit better. But you're right. If you get those hits and they turn into D6 hits, because he's going to probably do what a lot of people used to do, which was just keep all 4 in the sky and then just drop down wherever's necessary to do the hosing. And probably the same with the Evos. It's you can't shoot or attack what you can't see. So keeping your good stuff off the board and then having the 30-odd range, 36-inch range, I believe, or 30-inch range on those ballistas.
36, I think.
Yeah, they're still, yeah. It's much like all of Warhammer, right? Roll well, put stuff in the right places, and you'll do okay.
Also, Sean apparently has been playing this list for ages, so maybe he just has like some solid tactics against a bunch of different armies and knows what to target. I mean, those ballistas are going to be really important on what he decides to target and when. Maybe he like doubles into a unit and hits them with the evos. That's the plan, and just definitely takes it out. Maybe he doesn't, and he just causes pressure. I mean, 4 ballistas shooting at you is going to pressure the board, and what I mean by that is you're going to have heroes or units that are going to just take in a bunch of chip damage. One of my kind of go-to tactics at the minute in games is I keep looking for the little 10-man units. I'm just like, if you've got like 4 10-man units that I can just punk out, and then you're sat with like, yeah, you've got 2 bricks of solid units that can fight me, but your ability to hold the board is much weaker now. So that's something I've been looking for recently. And those ballistas would do a great job of being able to achieve something like that. So yeah, just a great job, obviously, there. So he won 4 and lost 2. And Scott Wyatt came in 9th. He's got OBR, so he's got Mortis Praetorians with Catacross, and obviously 2 crawlers, so the build. And then Eddie McMichael, Stormcast, and his Desolator Bomb. Didn't you love this? The Desolator
I did
Bomb.
love this. Yeah. He's got like 8 Desolators and a Knight Heralder, so they can run and charge. And then those Desolators, they get like extra attacks for the unit size. So I think they're on like maybe even +2, at least +2, if not even +4 attacks each when they're on the charge, at the correct unit size. So yeah, they can go in and blow stuff up, definitely. And I did see some pictures from the weekend where he just had like his screens of Liberators, and then just 8 Battle Cats or whatever they're called, just fucking lined up, ready to go. I think he actually played Corey in the last round or in one of the later rounds. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Let me bring it up because there's not much to it. And again, I'd imagine it was beautifully painted as well, by the way. So I don't think
gorgeous armies at the event as well. Again, just go check out the coverage because it's a great laugh, and honestly made me miss everyone who's there. Just amazing people. Blake Howitt was there with like a gorgeous army. Like the army, like the Aussies always make a good effort on their armies as well. So like it's just an amazing community to play Warhammer in. Super jealous, and I'm glad that they're having events and just cracking it. So that's super good. Yeah, go on. What was in the list?
So the list is it's a Lord Arcanum on a Taurolon. So is that the sort of like crazy like face thing, the weird face thing? Staunch Defender, Mirror Shield, Azerite Halo, Steel Pinions, and then a Lord Castellant, a Lord Exorcist, 2 Relictors, one's with Translocation, one with Divine Light, and then a Knight Heralder, and then 3 Fires of Liberators, 8 Desolators, a Cogs, and Everblaze Comet. So he's not got much to play with there. He really doesn't have much to play with there. It's 106 wounds, but it's actually only, 15, 23. He's got 29 models.
Yeah, that's not a lot at all. And I mean, good armor saves all around. And the Comet, I will still probably like fight you in the street over whether or not the Comet is brilliant, because I think it is. Yeah, like I'll go to bat for the Comet. Still a great spell. Like the ability to cast it is more of an issue, I would say, than like its veracity as an endless spell. But it can do some incredible work, really punishing.
There's also one thing about that thing. I used it recently, Rob, and did you know it gives off a -1 to cast debuff as well?
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like within 5 inches or whatever. So yeah, it's a pain for your opponent when you get it off. And it's nice then as well because it's not just there is turn 1 threat if he gets given the turn. It's not just like, okay, I've got these guys that are going to either come down or they're going to run at you. It's nice to have something that can smash a bunker and mess with your opponent's deployment and stretch things out. Like I like a little bit of that mind games, like because your opponent's going to have to deploy with that in mind, isn't he? So he might split his wizards up, maybe break up a few synergies, just so anything that affects the opponent without you having to do anything. I like that straight away.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, agreed. Yeah. It's really good. And again, pressure. I like pressure. Pressure is really good. like long-range threat, the crawlers, the ballistas, the comet. I think that's why KO are so scary, because they put a lot of pressure in places, or you never know where the pressure is going to come from. You feel quite hemmed in. I do sometimes wonder that's why players are so good when they're drunk, because they care less about like the intended pressure from their opponent. Does that make sense? Like, it's almost like, I'm going to try and make him feel a bit hemmed in here, and he's like, oh, I don't care, mate. Here we go.
I can't even feel my feet. I don't feel pressure.
Right, so let's look at these three top lists at least, or most importantly, let's look at Corey's. So Corey went 6-0 with a DOK, so Daughters of Cain Calibron list, and it's such an interesting list to talk about. There's some like real deep dive kind of like mechanics inside it, which are really clever. And I know you've been looking at this, Owen, and we did deep dive this already, right?
Well, we kind of swam in the shallows probably, and whilst Corey was sat there, if you watched the show, going, haha, boys, you don't know nothing about my list. But I know that there has been some stuff doing the rounds in a few of the chats, just with like his, so as we've done it, it's, what are we calling it? We're calling it Corey's Gambit, aren't we?
Corey's Gambit. We've got the Queen's Gambit, but now welcome to the Corey's Gambit.
So yeah, there's effectively the list, if people don't know it, is he calls it the Queen's Gambit. That's what he calls his list.
He does, which is great that he can call it that. But we've called it the Corey's Gambit, and that's what it's called now.
Yeah,
like because
So the list is effectively. Oh, you've got it on screen there. Yeah. So it's a Bloodbrack Medusa, who's the general. Command Trait, Mistress of Illusion, Artifact, Shadowstone, Law of Shadows is Mirror Dance, which is a key piece. Marathi came with Mind Razor and the Shadow Queen, who come as a pair, obviously. 3 units of 10 Sisters of Slaughter, 2 units of 9 K-Knight Shadow Stalkers, 20 Bloodstalkers, which is the key piece, and then Laushon the Soul Seeker, the Burning Head, and an extra command point. So it's not got a lot of bodies, right?
No, not a lot at all, really. I mean, you've got 30 wounds in the Sister's Slaughter. You've obviously got the unkillable Marathi until she goes down. Bloodbrack Medusa's not like a ton of wounds either. But obviously you've got the 20 Bloodstalkers, right? So you've got the 40 wounds located inside that brick. But overall, no, not a lot at all. But I think once we get into understanding how the list works, maybe we'll see why that's not so much of an issue, right?
Yeah, and I mean, he's got none of the usual buffs that you would tend to see. You know, there's no Hag Queen, there's no Cauldron. It doesn't. I'd imagine if somebody played a lot of Daughters of Cain in the past, and then they come up against this, you know, normally with Daughters, you're expecting this mobile castle, perhaps with Marathi that flies out and pins and is a problem. But effectively, it's a grindy army that relies on that Blood's Right table, getting to turn 3, getting to turn 4, and then just pushing through. Whereas this flips that completely on its head and is very much like a turn 1 sort of like an alpha, effectively.
Absolutely.
So we've got Corey's opening move, effectively, which has been going around. I don't know if you...
So the Queen's Gambit / Corey's Gambit. I'm absolutely in love with this. Absolutely. If you guys haven't seen, that's a Netflix TV show about chess. Talking about, I think, a chess move that might be actually real, the Queen's Gambit. And this is what it's inspired of. Yeah, please tell me about the opening move, because actually there's loads of tech here, which is super fun to talk about.
Yeah, so Calibron gives him -1 to hit, but then the key piece is the Mistress of Illusion command trait. So that effectively allows you to teleport a unit in the hero phase. There is some stipulation that they can't be near other units, so he obviously has to deploy correctly. So somebody else has kind of put this together. So apologies if it's not perfectly correct, or there's other ways of doing it. But effectively what he's doing is he's looking to manipulate the ability to shoot or fight in the hero phase, which is on Marathi Kane's command ability on her war scroll. So little Marathi. So normally it's like, okay, sweet. Well, I've deployed, and now my opponent's a good player, and he's deployed his units out of range of my stalkers, because they're only 24-inch range, right? Yeah. So normally it'd be like, oh, well, I can't shoot, nothing's in range, I can't fight. So what Corey's decided to do is manipulate those interactions. So he's gonna teleport the Bloodstalkers anywhere on the board outside of 9. So he's teleported his shooting unit across, which is going to give him 40 shots, 3s and 3s, rend 1/1 damage, and mortal wounds on 6s. He then casts Slash on the Soul Seeker to move Marathi Kane in the boat. So the Bringy Dingy comes out.
Yeah,
Little
which is
Marathi.
the endless spell. So yeah, it's a hero phase movement. However, you're unable. Marathi's War Scroll doesn't allow her to die. Normally, you have to pay the soul mana tax in a soul has to go, but you can't do that, right?
No. So basically, she jumps in. She can't die, but so that means that the 3 wounds are then transferred onto the Shadow Queen. So then she's allowed. She can go wholly within 24, anywhere wholly within 24 of the Stalkers. So she puts little Marathi up to be able to be in range. So sweet. You've got your shooter unit and your buff piece there. Bosh. I'm going to now shoot in the hero phase by activating the command ability. The Stalkers do 40 shots, unmodified 6s to hit, to a mortal wound. So yeah, you can ping off something. Then she uses he uses the Blood Rack Producer to cast Mirror Dance, which I believe that with the Shadow Stone, he gets to reroll 1s to cast and perhaps gets +1 from somewhere else. So the only way he fails that is on a 1/1 into a 1/1.
Okay, so it's very likely to cast.
Yeah, so he'll then cast Mirror Dance and he'll swap Little Marathi, who he's Laushon forward, with Big Marathi. So then you've got your combat threat in place rather than your little key sort of.
And again, this is still
base.
just all happening in the hero phase.
Yeah. And then there's no stipulation about Mirror Dance that you can't move in the movement phase because it's an old book. So then Marathi's got her, perhaps she's got, I don't know if she brackets at 3 wounds, but she's effectively got probably a 14-inch flying move then. And she can go and smash something in the combat phase, but obviously the Stalkers then get to shoot in the shooting phase as is normal. So effectively, he's got his key combat piece up the board, right in his opponent's face, and he's got 80 shots with his key shooting piece, and that's all turn one.
Wild. Yeah. And then you've got like not an unkillable, like as in when I say unkillable, I mean you can only take 3 wounds per turn, so it's going to take a few turns to kill Marathi fighting in that combat block. Also, what's interesting about the Stalkers can clear the screen. So wherever that screen is around something juicy, you can take that screen away. And also, depending on how priority rolls go, obviously you can use that command ability on Marathi in the hero phase. So yeah, the Stalkers could shoot again, but you could just have Marathi fighting again as well. So you've got the screen clearing, and then any holes that have been punched in. I think this is the really important point. Any holes that have been punched in or knocked around, and you've got this unkillable thing in the middle of your army. You've got the Knight Shadow Stalkers that can just land, and get where they need to go, which I think is fascinating. So being able to put them down and just to take out little characters as well. There's so many little threats to control the board, and then just really good. And I love it because like it is so on theme with the TV show. It's so on theme with the army. Like it's like chef's kiss of beauty, like that it's been put together, and it's so clever. And it works so, and it's so scary as well. Like someone's like Marathi just ends up in your army turn 1. You're like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah, I mean, we've been having fun talking about the Smash Bat, but she's like the original Smash Bat, but doesn't die, right? She can small base. She goes in. It's 100 mil base. You can fit that places, much like you say, Rob, clearing the screens and getting her into the meat of the army. And then like those Shadow Stalkers, they're -1 to hit in melee on their War Scroll, and then they're going to be -1 to hit in shooting from the Calibron ability.
Well, the thing is you can't. You're not going to be. I mean, the threat. I mean, Marathi and the Bloodstalkers are a threat, but when you're just given Marathi, you're like, now you have to deal with this turn 1, and so you end up dealing with her as much as you can, because your whole army has to focus. But it doesn't matter if your whole army focuses on her because you can't kill her. So then you're like, okay, can I get away from Marathi and then get towards those Bloodstalkers who I also got to deal with? And this is the slaughter. Are really just like extra. They're just there. And then the Shadow Stalkers will be doing. I think the Shadow Stalkers will be doing the clever lifting in the list after that initial play. Like they'll be the kind of like additional movement elements. It's so good as a list. So good. I even like the Burning Head for the reroll 1s on the Bloodstalkers. That's fun.
Yeah, because I think Marathi Kane is a 2-cast wizard, so after she's been Laushon forward, she could potentially put the Burning Head out then. To give them reroll 1s in both the hero phase and the shooting phase shooting. Shadowstalkers are busted, man. Like for the points, like that hero, she's
Mhm.
got I believe it's 3 attacks, threes and threes, rend 1d3 damage, which is the profile, almost the profile of like 120-point Stormcast wizard, who can move 5 inches and can't teleport. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
can
they're
just
good, is what you're
imagine.
saying.
Yeah, I can imagine like having the hero from the unit plus one or two like of the lads that come with the warband. Those just bopping around, winning in the late game, right?
Yeah.
Um, he's got three. He's got 3 teleports, which don't require dice. Laushon, Mirror Dance. It's just like also when you have that amount of threats and and that amount of like I used to like it playing Sylvaneth. Your opponent doesn't really know where you're going to go because you can put woods pretty much anywhere within range of your casters and stuff.
Mm.
So that kind of like threat saturation, it forces your opponent to make bad decisions when you've got so many options, right?
It does. It does. I mean, unfortunately, there's a for the first kind of like big event like in real person life, like of the year sort of thing. I think that's true. Like, but the point is, like, either way, there's a shelf life on this list, unfortunately, because obviously with the announcement of the Daughters of Cain book, whether or not that Mirror Dance spell is gonna then also still allow movement afterwards is kind of the big one. However, the like it's we'll see. So, but like a shelf life on this, but still super clever mixture of things. The rule Laquan, the Soul Seeker, really cool endless spell still being used, still getting play. Anything that can do hero phase movement and then allows you to do other weird stuff afterwards is super fun. Even if it's like killing a pink horror, so you can put some blues closer is kind of like a janky fun thing that you can do. Which I don't think I don't think we often see that in Host Duplicitous because they've just got Destiny dice to just like bang out the charge when they want to go put the pigs in. But still a great list. I think this is really clever.
I did have a quick look as well. If you're interested, Rob, I looked at
Yeah,
his path to victory. What
I
he
am interested. Really am.
So he had a massive round one, I must say, Rob. Like you'll
Oh
be
yeah.
invested in this because I think it was probably going to be his hardest game because he got drawn against the big-hatted lads, the Legion of Asgore.
Oh, those poor bastards. Was I listening to this game? I think I was actually listening to this game live, and I think I just heard the name. I just heard 12 Kadaya dead. I was like, yeah, that's definitely true. Especially if you had no. Oh no! Big shout out, my Legion of Asgore brother. Okay, that was a tough round one for the short fellas.
Yeah. Tim Davis with his Legion of Asgore was round one. Then he rolled into Henry Wagoner, who was running Seraphon
Okay.
with double Bastiladon. Then round 3, he beat Dave Kerr with the Slaves to Darkness
Wow.
list.
Okay.
Then he rolled over the Slanesh Chariots, Jai's list. He took that out.
Those are two of my picks.
And then Pat Carter, who came in second, he took out that Caradron Overlords list that did really well.
Yeah.
And then finished off with Eddie McMichael, which was the Desolator bomb. So he had a real mixed run. It's not like he was just playing stuff that he naturally counters. He had to face off against armor, teleports, speed, resilience.
It'd be interesting to see this. It'd be interesting to see this go into Deepkin, right? Like because the Deepkin could just put a couple of units on the board for him. He could probably zone out quite well. I'm just wondering if like the Deepkin couldn't just kind of avoid Marathi a bit and just take everything else out, and then just leave it. I'm fascinated in that. And only having to play the one Seraphon and the Seraphon being the double Bastion, none of the Fangs of Sotek lists is interesting as well. And not having to play all the big Blight Kings is a kind of because that's a lot of wounds that he didn't have to go through. But either way, great list, super fun. But yeah, some kind of like sidestepping some. There's nothing meant by this, Corey. So if you're listening, big love to you. I'm sure you didn't want to play the Blight Kings, or maybe you did. You'd be like, "Oh, fuck you, cunt! I loved him," which is fine, yeah. But yeah, sidestepping some of the kind of like maybe boogeymen of the event. Would you say?
I would say that the having played it a lot recently, and obviously at the weekend, as we talked about earlier, then that Knights of the Empty Throne Varangard list that Dave Kerr that he faced in round 3, He's got good mortal wound saves from the War Shrine, and the warriors have got the rune shields, so that mitigates. And then he's got good saves everywhere. So I think that would have been quite a test for him, because Dave's obviously got untamed beasts to screen out, so he doesn't get the board mobbed.
Well, so Dave's in the chat. He said he's played this list a lot. So he's played against this list, Corey's list, and he's only ever beat it with Deepkin.
Wow. Okay.
So I think that's interesting. Big shout out to you, Dave, in the chat. So yeah, very fascinating. Super cool, fun. Again, limited shelf life on this now, but fun for people to be talking about in the future. Maybe if you look at your army, see what Laquan can do. If you can bring your dinghy up some people. But yeah, really fun. In second place, I think I'm pretty certain you talked about your outside pick being a KO list at least. We had
not this one, mate. Not this one. This one's really good, and I backed the wrong horse. But yeah, this is really good actually. When you look at it in depth, it's really good. But yeah,
okay.
you crack on.
I'll read it out, and you can drop me the knowledge. So you got Ziflin, Kharadron Overlord's list, played by Patty, by the way. He came in second. So one of two people, him and Dave Kerr, that went 5-1, and Dave only actually losing to the winner. I'm not sure who Patty lost to. But he's got an Archanaut Admiral with a Rune of Mark, an Engine Master with dirigible suit. He's got 2x3 Sky Wardens, 6 Sky Wardens. He's got 2 Gunstruck Gun Haulers, 10 Thunderers. 3 Gun Haulers and 10 Thunderers. Then he's got an Ironclad as well, and he's got the Grunstock Escort Wing, and he starts with an extra CP. What's the kind of knowledge that we can get from here, Owen?
I haven't gone in and dug out what every single Endrin works and things do, but I think when you look at that and the way it's going to work, effectively 10 Thunderers and I'd imagine the Admiral go in the Ironclad. So he's got that mobile gun platform which can just go and hose things. And then triple gun hauler. He's essentially got 3 gun haulers and 3 units of wardens. So the gun haulers the wardens can clip on to the gun haulers and then fly high, teleport around. So they've all got the sky cannons. So he's not fishing for the 3 mortal wounds on the 5. He's just going for that sweet cannon profile with the D6 damage. So he's got some big guns, and then he's effectively got I would say like 4 super mobile threats. So a gun hauler with a unit of wardens hooking onto each, bouncing around, maybe getting dropped off to shoot stuff. And then he's got that one big Ironclad, which has got the 10 Thunderers. So 10 Thunderers in an Ironclad is a hell of a lot of output at 18-inch range. I'd imagine he's gone all of the athematic rifles on those. So I think I imagine it's 2 shots each, 3s and 4s, rend 1. So he's got a decent amount of shots when you link it in with all of the carbines on the Ironclad. That can really grind through a lot. And he's obviously got his teleport move. It's really nice that he's not gone Zilfin Vortex for a change, right? I think maybe
and
that's
it's still
why.
Done really well. 5-1 at the end of the day. I think is good, and I think the army's got loads of legs, loads of play. Like I feel like KO are one of those armies that do really well into a double turn, and they suffer like in being double turned. Which I kind of feel like is the strength, obviously, of the priority role in some ways. That it yes, it does make this particular army stronger, but it really struggles into the max up. Some armies don't really care too much about the priority role at all. So yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of guns, and there's a lot of mobility, and being able to choose where he hits. And actually, ignoring the Blight King, some of the lists that we're seeing a lot at the minute, I don't know about you, but there's some heavy hitters, Marathi, Archeon, with some other little bits knocking around. And then a lot of it's like everyone trading off 10-man units, Sky Warden units. Everyone's trading these little like pieces here and there with like these big hitters. And obviously you got the Ironclad, the Thunderers, and the Gun Haulers to do some pretty big hitting where you need it in the right place. And then the Gun Haulers and the Sky Wardens in 3s have got the ability. I mean, even the Engine Master with dirigible suits kicks out a ton of damage.
Oh yeah,
kicks out a ton. So being able to use those to like snipe out like your 5-man unit, your 10-man unit, whatever it might be, to start clearing board space early, I think it's quite dynamic in its ability to deal with threats instead of loading everything into one unit. So I think it's almost a counter it doesn't counter Fire Slayers, but it's a counter play style to how you would play Fire Slayers, is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's got more options on the board.
Yeah. I definitely like the way that you've described it as being dynamic, because it definitely is. Effectively, once if you take the Admiral out of the equation, everything can either move 12 inches or fly high as a minimum. So the Sky Wardens, if I'm not mistaken, if they're the same as Endrin Riggers, they have a 12-inch flying move. The Endrin Master with dirigible suit, I believe that he heals a flat 3 to a boat in the hero phase, so he can bop around and top things up as need be. And then all of the rerolls are going to come from not from sort of needing to be in range of things. They're just going to come from the Aether Gold. So you can throw these different little threats on completely different sides of the board, and they're not missing out because the buffs are coming just from the gold, not from like hero proximity or something like that.
Yeah. Well, so it's a great list, and one of the lists that went 5-1, and then the other list that in third place, Dave Kerr went 5-1 as well. Again, a Slaves to Darkness list, Knights of the Empty Throne. So it's going to be Nurgle Mark everywhere, and it's going to be in the Plague Touch Warband. So we did talk about this already on the list review show, but it's basically, I love this list because it just feels like it's. I did talk about on the show that it had 3 Chaos Sorcerer Lords, but that's wrong. It's 2 Chaos Sorcerer Lords and a Chaos Lord, 6 Varangard, and they've got that Grasping Plate, which you're such a massive fan of, aren't you, Owen? That 6-inch piling.
Mate, it made my Sunday. It really did. It really did.
I'll try and spend 2 minutes on this, Owen, not 6 hours. And then 20 Chaos Marauders, 2 times 5 Chaos Warriors, the 2 units of 9 Untamed Beasts, which if Dave's still in the chat, I'd love to know how he felt about their like effectiveness, and then that clutch unit of 6 Flamers that have been allied in, and the Chaos War Shrine. I mean, we've talked a lot about Knights of the Empty Throne lists over the past couple of months, really. Super in vogue, especially Plague Touch Warbands, super in vogue. A lot of love being given to this list. It'll be so interesting to see what happens with the Nurgle updates in the Broken Realms book, see if this has any effect here or there. Maybe there's an ally or something coming here. I think the really big pick here is the 6 Flamers of Tzeentch and those 2 units of 9 Untamed Beasts. Normally, you see people like super commit into the Nurgle units all across the board, right? That's normally what you see in this, and you don't see any of these allies. But I think being able to stop the alpha with the Untamed Beasts and then use the Flamers, I think, are really important in this list. And I think maybe a little bit of a mark as to why he's done so well.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people like to invest 170 points in another War Shrine, just so you get that reroll on the prayer, because 3-up reroll so a 3-up at the start of the hero phase to give a unit, generally the Varangard, +1 save, reroll wounds, especially when you're doing extra damage on wounds of 6. You do see that War Shrine put in, but I think the trade-off to go for 2 units of beasts, whilst it means that maybe your Varangard aren't going to be as powerful, 1 turn or 2 turns, for objective play and screening out against like alpha shooting like the KO, I think the beasts are solid. I'd be interested to see how the Flamers work. His only loss was against Corey, and I think
with
that
the Daughters of Cain,
and I think that one thing that is very big to remember with the inescapable doom and the grasping plate that you get on the Knights of the Empty Throne, so you can't retreat effectively. A teleport isn't a retreat, it's a setup. So he's anybody with teleports in their list, they can slip the noose. So maybe that helped contribute towards Corey beating this list. But if you get 6 in and they string out and they basically tag stuff that you can't retreat from, and then you kill yourself trying to get out of the trap
out of the noose.
Set. It's really obnoxious, yeah. So, and then he's got 6 Flamers just to come up behind whatever he's pinned in place and just hose stuff down. It's really nice range of threats he's got there. I like it a lot.
A lot of overlapping buffs. I mean, even just pinning stuff in with the Varangard, so the 20 Warriors can just like mulch through a unit is obviously the 20 Marauders, because they're just scary. Dave in the chat, big love to you, does say he wouldn't change the beasts for anything. He says they're the best. So I would double down on that. I think that scout move, I talk about it loads. That scout move is so important because it gives you loads of options. Gives you so many options after turn 1. And so you don't have to engage in quite the same way. Interesting. I imagine Corey could teleport, shoot them off, and then do another teleport, which is pretty awful. Like neuter them a little bit. But yeah, great list though. Great list, and looks like a great event. Loads of great models on display. You can follow Simon Hall's Twitter, Zweinhander. So you can go find that, and there was loads of really great pictures there. Excited about the Russian event next week. Also, the week after that, so this weekend we've got the Russian team event coming up. The weekend after that, we've obviously got coverage that we'll be doing from both Hammer Time 7, which is an online TTS event run by Owen, and also the Giant event, which will be on the Sunday. So a 1-day, 3-game TTS like match play event, and the day after a fun narrative whole day of how do you want to describe it? You got a tagline pitch? Got a pitch line yet?
I'll have to come up with one. My brain's a bit tired after yesterday, but yeah, gargantuan fun. There you go.
Oh, perfect. That'll do. Oh yeah, don't forget it's also Geelong. The same weekend as Hammer Time, or this weekend. This weekend, I think, which is another event as well happening. So yeah, looking forward to that. How's the sign-ups going for Hammer Time 7?
Good shout. Let's have a quick look. I'm not sure. We were pretty good actually. We have got 64 people signed up for Hammer Time 7.
That's great.
And 30 people for Titans of Gur. So yeah, we've got 94 sign-ups for the weekend. So
amazing. What a great day. What a great
wild
weekend.
Yeah, should be really good. I'm hoping to play on the Sunday, perhaps, just for a bit of fun.
What if any of the matches are 6 hours long?
Then I probably won't run any more events because I'll be.
Oh my god, I can't believe it's 6 hours. I'm completely no power. After like hour 4, I'll be like, listen, I can't be asked for this. This is just. It's a no from me. Thanks.
Nah, it was an intense game. There was lots going on, and then we had a big break in the middle for the rules queries. So no, it's fine. But yeah, I think there's something to be said there as well about these TTS games. When you don't have a time limit for the round, they really can go on and on and on because you're not being rushed at all. There's nobody doing half an hour to go in the round, lads. Hurry it up, sort of thing. So yeah.
It's true. I want to say shout out to Tony. What's your name? He says he took his son's Behemoth to GoldCon, and I went 4-2, which is very impressive. Should be super pleased with that. One of the losses was a draw that moved to a minor loss on secondaries, so that's a shame. So congratulations, Tom. What's your name? Tony. What's your name? That's brilliant. And also we got some shout outs earlier for all the other destruction players, which there weren't many of in the chat. I don't think. I'm trying to find it, but looked like there was some more destruction. I think in 11th and 12th.
Yeah, that's Tony. I think that Tony Peaver there in 11th place with it must be a Taker tribe. I think he was the one Gargant.
With the 2 Gargants, right?
Yeah.
And I think Gammy came 12th with the Drakfoot Bone Splitters.
See, Gammy normally plays Bone Splitters, but he was the other Daughters of Cain player, if I'm not mistaken.
Gammy. I think he swapped. Because I saw him playing on the stream. So anyway, it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, you're right. He's got Drakfoot Splitters. Oh no, that's right. I think he might have smashed up his army the night before.
No.
Yeah, I think I read that he got his daughters ready, and then he dropped a case on them or something happened, and yeah, he totaled his army, and he had to go back to the Splitters. So,
heartbreak.
That is gutting. Yeah, but anyway, he was prepping to play a different army, and then he rocks up and gets a 4-2 with an unfavored book or an unfavored build. I think that's solid work there, eh?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, excellent work. So big shout to everyone. All right, so looking forward to this week, Owen. Don't forget to go and tune into Owen, who will be on Warhammer Weekly this Wednesday. Go listen to him. We want to see all the love for him in the chat, please. I'll be listening. Looking forward to it. You got any shout outs? Anything you want to say before we go, Owen?
Oh, God. No, I've said enough. I'm good. I've done a lot of talking about Warhammer recently. So, just shout out the chat. Thanks. Shout out Grinaldi for picking me up on all the things I get wrong about dwarves. I'm not digging you out. But you dig me out all the time, man. Give me a break. Come on.
It's honest work. It's honest work for an honest day.
Yeah. He loves his dwarves, and that's totally fine. So, I'm learning.
So thanks everyone in the chat. Desert Sketch, Maxime Julian, I see you. Big love to you. proposition.
Hold on. Maxime
Yeah.
Julian?
Yeah. He's
Hey,
in the chat.
Maxime. I love that guy. I haven't played Warhammer with him for years. He's moved to Canada just before COVID. So,
Great guy.
Hey, Maxime. Miss you, bro. There, I'm shouting out to Maxime Julian. Lovely man. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Fuck you, buddies. I'm off to finish my shift off at the Outside Games Workshop HQ with my sign. One day we'll get the FAQ. Thanks to everyone on Patreon. Thanks to everyone listening to the podcast. Thanks for listening to Host Wargamer. Buckle up, boys. We'll see you soon.